Yo, yo, yo! Party people! What's happening? How you doing? I hope you guys are well. In the house, we have the man, the myth, the legend. We call him the doctor, but you can call him K to the P. What's happening, partner? How you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Doing good, doing good.
Man, we are having some rough weather tonight, are we not?
We are having some really bad, awful weather. Would I say awful in the sense? I wouldn't say awful. I'd just say at the moment it's gridlock over in the UK. We've had a bit of too much snow, and you know us British people, a little bit of snow and it's haywire. We don't know how to deal with snow. And that's over the years. We still don't know how to deal with snow.
You know what? It's crazy, right? Because even without the snow, like, so for example, we get a little bit of rain in London and the tubes shut down. They don't want to run properly. This is rain. We've had the tubes for over 100 years. You would have thought we'd have figured this shit out, but no. So right now, if you don't know, time to get to know. We are in London, the greatest city in the world, and it's absolutely freaking cold. It's absolutely, I think it's like -4 at the moment. And we are expecting Hurricane Emma to back up off us with a snow blizzard. So it's going to be very, very interesting. A lot of people are struggling to get to work. I had a class today, but the class was cancelled due to obvious situation with regard to the weather and everything else. So yeah, KP's right. A little bit of snow and the country wants to shut down. And what else has been going on? Of course, Theresa May, our lovely Prime Minister, is under so much pressure. So much pressure. What is a woman to do? So the head of the EU Commission is in Downing Street, or was in Downing Street earlier today, and they're trying to bang out an agreement between Europe and Great Britain with regards to Brexit. So I tell you what, I wouldn't want to be a president, I wouldn't want to be a prime minister, because that type of responsibility will make you turn grey. I mean, just check out Barack Obama. Look when he first went into office, and look when he left office. Yo, like, this is serious. Serious. Listen, you know what? Listen, if you want to become a leader, do it for the right reasons, okay? Because I'm telling you, this shit will take years of your life, you know? And then you're going to have to think to yourself, you know, was it really worth it? But moving on, we have a fantastic show for you guys today. Wow, KP, my man, talk to me. What's happening? What's happening, brother?
Yeah, well, well, like you said today with Brexit, you know, coming up and I think Theresa May is going to be making an announcement tomorrow about her direction on how she wants Britain, the UK, to be with the European Commission. And also they are rambling with the Northern Ireland and the Ireland border for the you know, because of course Ireland is with is a part of the EU, and Northern Ireland is a part of the UK. So it's about how it constitutionally how Northern Ireland will then work with Ireland and also with the UK, and so there's border issue and security and trading. So there's been some to and fro between each from the EU and with them and the UK. So yeah, it's been, like you say, I wouldn't want to be a prime minister or you know, the president, as you say, because there is so much complex discussions and to unravel of 40 years of being a part of the EU, and then we are now leaving is crazy. And on that part, you know, it's really a complex issue. And yeah, so yeah, but I'm optimistic. I think we're going to find a resolution to some of the worries both the EU and the UK that are both rambling over and try to come to a conclusion. So yeah, so what have I been? So today, what are we going to be talking about? Really, we're going to talk about mental health. Now, how mental health has been a topic that has really come in the limelight, and how really, in terms of as a society, how we as humans have always kept closed about our health, and especially mental health, especially you know, periods of, say, depression or anxiety or stress, and also how that has an impact on the person. So today we you know, we're gonna talk about that, and first we're gonna, you know, talk about how does mental health really affect businesses as well as you know, people as well, and across society, how it has affected across many different areas in society, and from health institutions to professions such as mental health care units, to companies like you know, normal private and public companies, and helping people with their mental health. And now there has been a campaign, I know, on Twitter and social media regarding.
You're not talking about the Ice Bucket Challenge, are you?
The Ice Bucket Challenge.
Sorry, my bad. I apologize. I apologize. Right, go ahead.
Yeah. So really, we're going to really talk about that today, and so really, it's going to be a conversation regarding you know, that topic. And so what we're going to do later on this webcast is really Sol is. I'm going to have a conversation with Sol, and I'm going to. He's gone through a stage of a depression within his life, and so we're going to talk about that later on. But today really is going to be about, you know, how. So what is mental health? You know, what is really mental health? And mental health is a very complex, and is a very complex issue, and it can be in different levels within a person's psyche, within a person's mood. They could, you know, they can have mood swings. They can be stressed. They can have anxiety. They can have you know, stages of deep depression. So there's various syndromes regarding mental health, and so it could lead to suicide. It could lead to very tragic occurrences, and so and of course, it's very difficult for a person to open up and talk about how they're feeling, and it's really, yes, and I'm not here. I'm not saying I've got any knowledge as a professional giving advice on healthcare. So please do not go what I say, you know, because again, I'm not a professional, or I do not have any medical or professional experience within mental health. But really, I do have experiences myself of depression, and also of the different and also I've had friends and family who've gone through that particular event in their life. So today, let's first start off with mental health. And you know, so like, you know, kind of like give me a you know, on your, what do you think mental health is?
Mental health. I think, you know, again, I'm not a doctor. I can only give you my own interpretation of mental health. It could either be a chemical imbalance, or it could be a psychological imbalance. primarily, it could be a mixture of both, but you tend to associate mental health primarily with people that have given up on life. Some type of psychological drama has taken place. It could be through substance abuse. It could be through childhood trauma. There's many, it's such a deep issue. I don't want to degrade the subject with my inadequacy on the subject matter. So that's really my answer. We all suffer with mental health issues, whether you're bipolar, or whether you're the type of person that is obsessive with cleaning. We all suffer with mental health issues. I think the question is, when does it really start to affect our life in a way where it becomes so noticeable that, according to the norm, you are not perhaps behaving in a certain manner that is perhaps accepting to your social surroundings? Because you could argue, if you suffer with some type of alcohol abuse, it's a form of mental health. If you have a sex addiction, you could also argue this is a form of mental health. So it's very difficult to classify what mental health is. You would really need to get a neurologist on that really understands the deep-rooted issues with that. But having said that, mental health is becoming more and more widespread due to us giving our powers over to technology, one could argue. Back in the day, or many years ago or decades ago, we used to join clubs and societies, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Guides. We don't do that anymore. And so we're at this point in human history whereby we're not really connecting as a community. Rather, we connect to people around us through smart technology. And if you go back to our last video, we really kind of touched on a few different things with regards to technology. So we don't need to go into the whole issue, but community has to be the center of your life. Community is so important. And I feel without the support from other people, and then through isolation, excessive isolation, can lead to mental health. It's a very, very deep subject matter. Yeah.
I personally, I think is the stresses of work in the workplace as well places a lot of pressure on people's lives, because some professions and some some areas in the industry, there are pressures beyond belief where you are put under intense stress due to your role, whether it's taking on more responsibility, or whether it's just really trying to whether how you really handle pressure, right, and how you handle stress. Because some people handle stress, differently to how others will handle it. Now, and what I really think is when it comes to mental health, and it's kind of there are techniques that you can use to really try and handle the pressures that you have on a day-to-day basis. And also I found is through meditation, through really like say yoga is a really good activity to do that helps to really lower your heart rate, to really make you not to so say for example when you're stressed, your heart rate will be will be beating faster, right? And then from that you would really get kind of angry at any little small thing. So it's kind of like doing activities that really help for you to shorten the load on the amount of stress that you may be having.
But that also requires discipline, though. I think I just want to interject there, but that also requires discipline. So, for example, we clean our teeth every day because we know that if we don't floss our teeth, that we are subjecting our gums and the enamels to decay. So, with that being said, we should also make exercise a part of our daily routine on a daily basis. If it's important for you to clean your teeth, the human body was designed to not be in the house, to be in these large, these cities of steel and glass and metal, right? The human body was, in my opinion, was designed to be outside, hunting and out in nature. And with that comes exercise. Because, a couple of hundred years ago, we didn't have Tesco's, we didn't have Sainsbury's, Walmart, Asda. So therefore, there would be periods of times, maybe days, we would go without food. So we would go out, we would use physical endurance and put stress on our body and go and hunt for our food. The problem that we're facing right now is that we have everything on tap, especially us living in the Western world. We don't even have to go to the shop. We can just go online, make a phone call or whatever it is, and select the food items and it will be delivered. So I don't want to digress from what we're talking about, but if cleaning your teeth is important to you on a daily basis, then shouldn't exercising also be just as important? Because with exercise, you release certain stresses and tensions mentally and physically. And I think you'll actually find that and don't quote me because I don't believe it's for every person. This is all individual basis, but the majority of people that are depressed, I'm trying to choose my words very carefully, are people that don't normally work out. But I didn't say mental health because there's many people that have mental health issues that obsessively work out, for example. So I'm trying to choose my words really, really carefully. But in terms of depression, and then of course the doctors, they give us these what do they call them? These psycho drugs that try to, in inverted commas, try to fix us. But they don't. I've been on those drugs, and don't ask me to quote the names. I don't know what the names are, but certainly when I was prescribed this very, very strong medication, people were telling me that my personality was changing, that I was a lot colder. I would change the subject in the middle of a conversation. Those were the traits that they could notice. But yeah, exercise is very, very important. Just wanted to add that in.
I would really say that diet can really help, with your energy levels as well. Right. So what you're actually eating is really gives you that energy, so say for example, eating foods that are have got vitamin D richness.
But the problem is, KB, the problem is in this day and age, right? The conspiracy theorist people out there will say that the earth is being poisoned, which it is. That even the same nutrients that you would have once got in your potatoes, if you grew potatoes, your strawberries, your sweets and marrows, whatever it might be, that the goodness in the soil is no longer there. So how much of those vital vitamins and minerals that you're talking about that we need to absorb to try to counter out?
Because you mentioned like an imbalance, right? So a chemical imbalance, and really chemical imbalance means to me is your diet. You may be eating too much of certain types of food than others, and there's not richness of nutrients and vitamins within those foods. So again, I'm not a dietitian, or I'm not a doctor, so I can't really, I haven't got professional experience, with that. But from my own experience, what I've gone through in terms of mental health, I did really natural. Do you know, Sol, that natural light makes so much of a difference when you are, say, on a low ebb, on the day. So say on a particular type of day, you were just getting natural light into your eyes really makes a difference, because light just kind of wakes you up, right? So, and it really gets your eyes really then working and doing the, the images. Of course, you have bright images that you're looking at to really engage, like you say, with nature. Appreciate nature, go out and
but the thing is that
understand nature.
If you've had something super, super traumatic that's happened to you, or some type of wound you've been carrying from when you was a kid, that inherently is woven into your DNA in essence, because although you've had this trauma, you haven't received the help to get over that trauma. And then what happens is you keep reflecting on that trauma. And I'm not trying to speak generally. This is my own version of one way of seeing a particular challenge.
Sure.
So you carry around with this trauma, and you don't have the right help because of whatever the situation is. You're in a bad environment at home, or you've got super toxic people around you, as friends, whatever. Then you start to internalize that wound. That wound could have been healed over at some point. But sometimes when we get into this rut of feeling sorry for ourselves, for example, and not allowing positive energies, be it through music, be it through laughing, be it through looking at things at a long distance, again, being in nature, reading wholesome, internalizing wholesome, positive things. And I'm not saying that self-development is the only way, because it may not be the only way. But if we internalize and we focus on that wound, however horrific it is, then it's just like picking a scab. It just doesn't heal after a while. So we carry this on into our teens, into our adulthood, and then we start to make bad choices. Maybe we start to make bad choices. So and then we go down this slippery slope. So mental health is a massive issue. We thought that it would be a good idea just to kind of talk about this, because the world isn't perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. So these imperfections, if we don't overcome the necessary challenges that mounting, then we seem to repeat and seem to recycle the first cycle over and over again, because we haven't learned that lesson. We haven't learned that lesson that maybe karma is thrown at us. I don't like to use the word karma because it's such a Eastern karma.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's another word for it, right? Whatever. But we will keep repeating these cycles over and over and over and over again until we pass that test, until we pass that lesson.
Absolutely.
And if we don't pass that lesson, then yeah.
So you brought up a topic regarding childhood and also regarding, before we touch base and then I will start interviewing you about your
interview me. This sounds serious. What are you, the FBI? What the fuck?
So
okay.
Go
for it. Yeah.
Really, you mentioned childhood and teenage in your teenager years and so forth, and I have read reports where teenagers there is a rise in suicidal rates with teenagers And some of that is
Pornography. No, I'm
mental
joking.
health.
Yeah.
What's that? What did you say?
I said, yeah, too much pornography. I wasn't joking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's the question?
And
So
what it was is basically, that again is like, because teenagers now, social media is such a forefront of teenagers and childhoods lives. You of a touch of a button, you're able to make comments about others, whether, and it could be really, it could be more serious in terms of bullying. And I'm sure we will talk about bullying in a later discussion, because I have been bullied myself very heavily when I was in
who's
childhood.
that? By your sister?
Sisters, yeah, tell me.
Nah, come on, man. What's going on? Represent, brother.
But yeah, like, and I really wanted to touch, because it is a topic that I'm really, it really touches me, and hearing teenagers even children going through that, that those events at such a young age is just crazy. And
Yeah, but I think, I don't mean to cut you, but I think that we have to stop expecting the world to be perfect, and we have to realize and respond to the fact that it ain't never going to be perfect. It's a fallen world, basically. So you have to accept that the fact that people will make their choices, and those choices will evidently have effects on other people, including you, including me. But it's a lottery in a sense, because at any point we could have been born into royalty, we could have been born into a tribal family in Africa. I mean, it's a lottery. When this soul came into this carbon body, right? Some people say we had a choice, but most people say that they would never remember that choice.
Yeah.
If indeed it is true. But we all have to take responsibility, don't we? We are basically the product of our thinking. Like, you hear all these gurus talk that shit, right? But if you literally think about what they're saying, we are a product of our thinking. So mental health.
Yeah.
Mental health is about taking responsibility, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree. And I just wanted to touch that, that there are a lot of pressures now with children and teenagers, and in their early stages of life, on so much pressures that they go through in school, and their peers, and family life. Like you say, we're not born, it really matters in the family as well, on how how you have been brought up in your childhood. So in that case, so I wanted to
do you think also, like, in your opinion, do you think like religion has a big part in that? Where does like religion lie? Because we don't want to divert from the subject, but if you've kind of made that semi-open statement, then what comes into my mind is then, because again, based on this lottery of who our parents are going to be, the location, the impact of your environment at a young age, when your mind starts to develop, at the age when it stops to develop, the types of choices you make before that period of development was reached and after would also play a factor, maybe in terms of your mindset and the way that you observe life. And then as a human being, because we've got free will, we can obviously start to create physical, the tangible, and also the intangible, both good and bad, right?
Yeah. So with myself, so I've got a Hindu background. So my parents were born in Kenya, and
African, Babuto.
No. Yeah.
Well, am I racist now? Really?
Oh, I'm not going to comment on that, dude. I know you too well now to Yeah, but anyway, so it's
Mm,
kind of like, so I was brought up in a, in a Hindu tradition, but I
mm,
wouldn't say that, I had a strong religious background. My parents, when I was born here in the UK, and I was pretty given much freedom on learning, so when we went to school and when we went, we learned about British values, and also, like you touched on religion, it would be Christian
mm.
values as well, right? So when we were growing up, you just learn, just not your, yes, your background. When you're, in your family life, you would have
Mhm.
a mixed, so you would have tradition of how Hindus will challenge themselves, and how the way do they how would they would, tackle certain problems, or a life events and so forth. And then, when you're in school, you take that with you, and then, you try and adapt that within your daily life. But with myself, I wouldn't say I was a religious person, really. um,
Okay.
I
Okay.
didn't really attend the temple,
Mm.
our shrine that we attend, to
Yeah.
pray to our gods. But for yourself, because you had a Christian um, upbringing, right, with your
Mhm.
parents.
Mhm.
So yeah, so from the question that you've asked, yes, religion
Yeah.
does make a difference,
Mm.
on how you tackle anything in your life. Because you've learned from your parents how they have dealt with particular events, life events,
That's right. And we observe.
and you
We
observe
literally
that, right?
observe what our parents do, their behavior. Of course. So it's all we're like this sponge. I hate when people use that, but we are. We are until a certain point, and maybe forever, right? We absorb information, but I think like unlike other animals, where there's a set pattern, we're not in that same framework because
Yeah,
we can have choice and make free will. So that's why I said earlier on that we have the ability to create the intangible, the chair, the table, the laptop, the nuclear bomb. We have the same to do the same thing in our mind, right?
yeah, yeah,
And I think it's the mental, the unseen, intangible, tangible, that maybe has more power to really bind. If we don't get the right combination, we start to not hit the right combination, it starts to take a hold on us. It's that powerful, but it's intangible, right? Because it's mental.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So again, back to the beginning, it's like when we talk about that's why diversity is diversity because we are so different. We perceive the world differently.
Mm.
Our relationships are perceived differently.
Yeah. So
But
I
we
wanted
live,
to.
yeah.
Okay,
Mm,
right. So I wanted to really touch base and talk about your experience, Sol.
mm.
So can you tell me about how was your childhood when you were growing up?
My childhood was painful. Painful because um, it was painful based on a lot of different moving pieces. Um, support, lack of support, um, a cultural norm, but it also takes validity in the overall picture of dysfunctionality, location, time. So a lot of things. So yeah, my childhood was very, very painful. So I lived with my sister, and my mum and my dad separated when I was a kid. So this is not like, this is the usual, but it is what it is. And then I don't know, something changed. It was weird. It was like,
were you a happy child? Were you happy?
I was a really happy child. I was a really happy child, probably up until the age of 5.
Sure.
That's what I remember. And then all I remember, it just was bad. Yeah, I would say 5. So I had 2 sisters living at home at that time, and it was a nightmare. Fuck. My older sister used to, like, she literally used to beat the shit out of us. She was really nasty, really nasty. I think she was jealous that my younger sister and myself, we took the limelight. So she was super nasty, really bad. And again, I think sometimes when you don't have, a man needs a man. It's the way it is. A man needs a man. A man needs a man's guidance. And when there is not the balance between the masculine energy and the feminine energy, there's an imbalance.
Yeah.
And based on the pressures of those imbalances, choices are made. So I'm not trying to be secretive, but like I said, it was very, very painful, and I'm still recovering. Still recovering. I'm trying to recover through forgiveness. I'm trying to recover through letting it go. You know what I mean? So it was very, very traumatic. But this story is not like, it's like other people's stories, you know, whatever. So from there on, I was
before you continue, you talked about religion, right? So were your parents both Christians?
No. Very good. So no, my mum didn't know what she was. Okay. And my dad was a Muslim.
Right.
Identity. We learned this in politics. It's all about identity and what you associate identity with.
Sure.
No, my mum was very confused. Not confused in the sense of being erratic in that sense, but confused because what one would perceive as priority values in a general situation, it was another way around. But we're moving on. That's basically my growing up, which I haven't really said. I haven't really said much.
Sure.
But it's you can't. I don't want to. It's very difficult. I want to share it with you if you want to hear it, but I'm trying to find. It's very difficult because of the medium. But yeah, it was a painful childhood. I was living in a household of women, women that hated men.
Okay.
Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So yeah, it was horrible.
So you had a traumatic experience in childhood, and then how did that perceive you when you were in high school? Were you lashing out with others?
No, not at all. Actually, the opposite.
Were you a bad pupil, or were you able to handle? How did you?
I was a bad pupil because I never once did homework. So in that sense, yeah, I was. Yeah, I was a bad pupil. But yes, I wasn't aggressive at all. Actually, I didn't know jack shit in the sense of, we'll have to backdate, but we'll do it another time. But no, when I got to high school, I didn't know who the fuck I was either.
Sure.
I was in this fucking cocoon. That was being tightly, but that's not really true because I left home, I think about 15. Like, it had got that bad, and I was like, I gotta go, man. But
right, so you cut off all your family and you just went your separate way. Is that what you're saying at the age of 15?
I would say it was more of a mutual agreement.
Sure.
More of a mutual agreement. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So yeah. So that's why it's really important that family's around. But I think somebody in the family who's the matriarch has to, or patriarch, whatever, could be both. They have to make the right choices, because again, as I mentioned, other people's choices, if you have any type of relationship, will interfere with your life at some point. It's inevitable, because we're social creatures. We're like the dolphins, right? We have a family hierarchy and structure. Yeah. We have the same when we go to school. So if you ever had a fight, you knew where the fuck you was in the pecking order, right? And if you got your ass kicked and you have to go to the gym and pump up and do some judo or some jiu-jitsu or some aikido. But when you don't have when you're lacking the confidence,
yeah,
confidence carries the day. And I didn't have that confidence. So yeah, it was difficult. And then I told your cousin this, but back in the 80s, this thing with acid was so big, like mid 80s? No, yeah, maybe mid 80s. Everyone used to run up and used to go, acid. During that time. Yeah. So to make things worse, I don't know jack shit, got no confidence. And around this time, this thing was just going crazy. And people would literally run up to you in the street and go, acid. So what did we go do? We went to Clark's. We went to Clark's shoe store.
Yeah.
I see a fucking smiley face, bruv, right, on a pair of Clark's. Yeah, with the yellow, right, the striking yellow. And I go to school, bruv. Can you imagine? Like, I went through torture, bruv. I was literally tormented. Tormented is such a strong word, but it was literally, I was tormented. So people that understand what I'm talking about will get it. And if you don't, then you won't. It's just, you got to understand that era.
So
I think, so I know you want to say another question, but I just want to make this statement. I believe that people who were born after 1980, for some reason, I feel like the majority of them, they're missing something. I don't know why, but I feel like the cutoff date in terms of the old guard, and then from 81 onwards, this new type of way of thinking came about. I feel like people that were born after 1980, they might be book smart, but it's really interesting how they look at life and the choices that they make,
yeah,
compared to people that were born before 1980. If you understand what I'm saying. Probably not. Probably not, right?
Right.
So way deep.
I wanted to really use it. You're saying, at the age of 15, you decided to part ways with your family. Mm-hmm. So what did you do? Like, did you get help? What, your belt, your mental.
I stayed.
Your health must have been like, you must have been so anxiety, stress. And did you feel that you had help out there to really help you with your problems? Say, for example, were you able to?
Let me just that quickly, so I know where you're going with this, and I can just split the atom right now. When you're younger, there's a certain amount of amnesia that's around you, because you're at that stage in your life where your body is growing, testosterone is just going crazy within your bloodstream, like crazy. You're strengthening up, you're getting strong, you're running faster, you're doing more, you're so active, you're at the peak of being active. There's a sense of amnesia that protects your mind. At that time, you might be working, you might be hustling. You're doing what you're doing because you at that time, or wherever you are, it's all about making money so you can have options, because now you've been released into this world and you're so excited. So you have this amnesia that's just surrounding, protecting your organs and your vital organs if you're really lucky, which most young people are. But then you evolve.
Yeah.
You evolve. You start to make more money. You start to upgrade in terms of your living. You wear nicer clothes.
So
So
you're really saying that you masked your problems, right? So you
no. Don't understand the question.
Compartmentalized your issues, and then because you're at that young age, right? And like you say, you know, at a young age, you're still growing, you're still, you know, testosterone is flowing, you know, you're wanking, as we all know that.
Oh, you know me so well.
Yeah.
Oh, so, you know me so well. All right. Okay.
So, but what I'm saying is, did you compartmentalize? Like, you know, did you really think?
No.
Let me just
absolutely
back
not.
burner, and let me.
No, absolutely no. Because if you heard what I just said, if you've heard what I said, I've answered your question. With all that I've said back prior, I've answered your question. So no, again, it's very easy for us to look back, and then we can really kind of analyze or allow it just to come to us.
Sure.
But when you're younger, as I said, you're meeting the world. You're about to have you're literally jumping into an adventure. But of course, it depends on the strength and
right. So okay. So you've spoken about your childhood and your adolescence, right? So did you go through any episode in your 20s? You know,
yeah, serious masturbation.
Sorry,
serious masturbation. It is what it is.
Weren't in many relationships, right?
No. Well, no, that's not true actually. I mean, like seriously, like when you're dude, you're just, my God, you're up and down, you're up and about, you're partying so hard, but I think maybe a lot of people started smoking at a relatively young age. You know what I mean? So they're not shy. They will take a gamble and try something. But the reality is you know, you're active, aren't you? You go nightclubbing on the weekends. You're spending silly amounts of money on drink. You're getting absolutely mullered. I remember when I was 16, man. Yo, you know how it was? We rocked up to the nightclub, big ass nightclub, a nightclub where you knew there was always going to be fight every time we left that nightclub, right? Without a shadow of a doubt. You know, and you would go to these joints and you would get absolutely plastered, right?
Absolutely.
You know, and then you don't want to pay the fucking, you know, the way you say it is you want to get plastered before you go there. You know what I mean? And just, it's all about catching a night bus on the way back. But you were there because you wanted to hook up with chicks. That's it. You wanted to have a good time with your friends. You wanted to hook up with chicks. So hopefully you might get laid. You know what I mean? So between all of that, yeah.
So no, yeah. So you know, you say like you know, you enjoy drinking, but did you go through any episodes of like?
When did I say that? You put words in my mouth. When did I say I enjoy drinking?
Well, as you clearly did say, you were, you know.
Oh right, okay. Just check it. Just check it.
I think you've already forgotten what you said. But yeah, so really, like, you know, so you've talked about, you know, that you enjoy drinking, and so you know, and so did you go through any episode in your 20s where you were you know, you reflected on your childhood, or you know,
no, absolutely not.
A depressive state of mind.
No, you're asking the wrong questions. You're absolutely asking the wrong questions, because as I just said for the third time, that when you have these hormones that are there, you're not even peaking, you're just getting started in terms of everything that you conceive about that's happening and taking place in your biological body, this carbon body. You're not concentrated on compartmentalizing or depression, because maybe you're not living at home, and maybe you are living at home, but you're still making moves because you're subjected to this wide world now. You've left school, you had your work experience. In my case, I went to work with BMW, and then bada bing, bada boo. You know, you're let loose into the world, and you want to experience. You know what I mean, you want to experience without your parents telling you what you can or what you can't do. If you're a rebellious little you, yeah, or maybe you respect your family. Your family have been good to you. They've given you that support, right? And you believe in yourself, and you're ready just to set in motion what you've always wanted to do. Maybe.
Sure. So, okay, you've spoken about your 20s, and you clearly said you don't want to talk about that period. So, let's move on to your 30s.
Did I say that too? Did I say that too? You're a bad man. That's what you are. You're a bad man.
Okay, let's talk about your 30s.
Go on.
So, in your 30s, so have you gone through any mental health depression? Have you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Do you want to talk us through that? As you know.
Well, I won't give you the specifics, but what I will say to you is yes, because in my case, it all caught up. That burden from the very beginning finally decided just to try and wrestle me, put me in a leg lock or ankle lock on the ground, and wants me to tap out. So yes, that did happen, but it wasn't based on one event. It was based on a whole multitude of memories and cycles that I kept going round and round and round and round and round and round and round in my mind. I was repeating the same cycles, but subconsciously.
Yeah.
So now when a major event did happen, the floodgates were open. Wow.
Okay. So
yes, go ahead.
So did you go and see a professional at that period where
Absolutely.
going through this particular, and tell our viewers exactly, as much as you can, of course not great detail, but was it helpful for you? Did it really help you? And
Yes, I was helped. There's some horrible feedback at your end, by the way. I can hear myself. It might be me. Anyway, yes, it did help. So I went through this traumatic experience, which really wasn't traumatic. It's just I didn't know how to deal with it properly. And yes, it had to do with a female. And it just the lock came off. So like you would have heard this analogy before, but the circus will get baby elephants. And how does it go again? They basically chain them up. They chain them up, right? They can't go nowhere. Every day. The elephant's like 60 years old now, right? And the guy comes along and he puts the chain around the ankle of the elephant, but then he releases it. Because the elephant has been conditioned from day one to age 60 that he's always in bondage, he doesn't realize that actually the chain lock is not on his feet anymore. He can go. And not only that he can go, but he can break that easily. See, if he knew who he was as an elephant, the largest mammal, land-dwelling mammal, is the elephant. And there's a reason for that, by the way. It's based on oxygen. Anyway. So,
okay.
And he can't break free from one handcuff to his ankle. Then you know that the elephant is in bondage. So that was basically the reality. I forget the question though. Again, what the question was. I bet you've forgotten too.
Well, the question was really going to professional.
Did it help me?
What did you go and see, a psychiatrist or a?
I saw two psychiatrists.
Yeah.
The first guy was really cool. I can't remember his name. I really can't remember his name. His name may have been whatever. He was a really nice guy.
Yeah.
He was a really nice guy, and literally, they do is what you expect them to do, which is basically sit there and listen. So basically, I had to sob my eyes out, as you do. And it did help me because everybody has a story to tell. And sometimes we get frustrated when we can't let people know our story because we want to be heard. So it was having that it was having that presence of someone or something where I could be completely honest with myself and not feel any shame whatsoever. So in that respect, yes. But going back to the elephant, if he was to move forward, he's got his freedom. It doesn't take much effort, just move forward, right? So yes, then I saw a second psychiatrist. She didn't really go in depth. She didn't really analyze me. She just kind of grouped all this shit together and said, you need to be on these drugs, right? And so I was being prescribed some drugs. Basically, what it was is that when you lose a sense of who you are and you give your power up, you can feel trapped, but you can also retake back your power. So it was a feeling of not being trapped when I was to unload this bollocks, this burden, this bondage, this yoke that has been sitting on your back like a fucking monkey, you know? So yeah. But then the drugs, that's when we start to go numb in our mind. Like you literally feel your mind going numb and not firing. You don't feel that electricity. Like you will go to the gym and they say you go to the gym, you do a hard workout, you're going to feel great. You don't feel great when you're on these psychoactive drugs. You just feel numb. Numb like your dick is not working properly. You can't feel it. Like, you know what I mean? So numb. The drugs are not good. And people around me started to notice some difference in my attitude, in my behavior, you name it. And very, what's the word I'm looking for? Crass with people. Very, I don't know if that's the right word, but very blunt with people. And having this dark cloud just hanging over you. That's how powerful these drugs are. Combine that with your anxiety, your sleepless nights, and your depression. And like I said, it wasn't just based on one event. We're talking about a whole heap of events that through my adolescence had been anesthetized. You know, and when you just don't feel it. And now all of a sudden that mental something has come off and now you're feeling it. It's just holding you. You're in this black tunnel. You're just in this black tunnel. So that's how it was. I came off the drugs. It took me a long time for me to start feeling myself and better. I was very fortunate though, because I had solid friends around me that loved me so much that they would put their time and their energy and their resources and be there and say, listen, don't let go. Don't worry, man, I got you, bro. I got you. You know what I mean? If you don't, and that's you know, like, and even then you're on the edge. You're really on the edge. Like you're on the edge. And so no, but then the thing is, when I went through this dark period of my life, before and after the drugs, either side of the coin was still negative.
Sure.
It was so negative, you know?
And do you think through your childhood, you know, that you had, like you say, you didn't have a good childhood, and then events leading up over the years, over the decades, and then at this moment in time, everything exploded, right? You went into a deep depression. Do you think that is do you think that's partly due to how you handled it, or
it comes down to
your parents weren't able to?
It comes down to
teach you properly.
No, I'll tell you what it is. It comes down to a lot of things, but to pop it up, it comes down to a spirit of rejection, number one.
Sure.
Father didn't want me, mother didn't want me.
That's interesting.
Spirit of rejection.
Yeah.
Number two, it's very important that we accept that relationships won't work out. But it's when you're in that situation, when you enter the situation where you're in this middle of this raging battle of potentially two people that don't love each other, they don't love themselves, and will do anything to get one up on the other. If that makes any sense. No. That sounds like Storm Emma. Maybe. What was the question again?
So the question was really from your childhood, you know, that you said you went through a bad experience, right? You didn't have a good childhood. And
it was a negative experience, yes.
Yeah, and what it was is leading up to, you know, decades in your 20s, and then in your 30s, you had this tragic. You went through this you went through this depression, right? And my question was, do you think is how you could have handled it? Did it manifest itself from childhood, like, you know, because you don't know how to deal with particular events, because our parents didn't really teach us how to deal with type of stresses.
Agreed. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Oh, great. So yeah, and also just to finish it off, like, if there is someone out there who you know, I'm fairly sure there are going to be some viewers out there who's going through the same thing as you, and you know, and also really want to hear people who have been through that experience. And I myself will be talking this topic because Sol's going to be interviewing me, and he's going to be probing questions at me. But really, for our viewers out there, Sol, what would you say really to help them? You know, yes, they've got online. Yes, they've got online help. You know, you can read, you know, articles online. But really, truly, from someone who's gone through that experience, what can you give to viewers who are going through this, and really, what help is out there that you have gone through, and what challenges did you face? Like you say, you know, taking the drugs and so forth. You had sleepless nights and the mood swings and so forth. So really, truly, my question is what advice do you give out there for people who are going through this trauma, and how to get out from a deep dark cycle, and raise and then bring yourself up back to, you know, to the light, really?
Good question. I would say if you can avoid taking the prescription drugs, it's very powerful medicine. Try and if you're on it, try and wean yourself off it and get off them. I don't think they're going to help the situation. They won't help the situation because it creates a gulf, an abyss between your two minds. So there's always going to be this disconnection. So you need to, I would, and the doctors are not going to tell you to get off the medicine. They may or they may not, but if you feel that you can get through without the medicine, without becoming codependent on it, they get off the medicine because they're very, very strong, very, very powerful. It's not good for you. They're dangerous. Okay. It's very difficult because if you're by yourself and you literally don't have anyone, but there's always going to be someone that you can reach out to.
Yeah.
You just got to want to reach out to these people. There has to be one person. One person. I don't believe there's not one person. There's got to be one person. You're going to need to talk about it. So just keep talking about it. Just get out your system. If that's the way you need to try to de-stress, just to kind of verbalize it, then keep verbalizing it, you know, verbalize it. To get over these types of things, it requires a certain type of maturity. And you also, the maturity being that you're valuing yourself the way that you're supposed to. That yes, it's good to give to other people, but in this situation, you need to give to yourself first. Because if you don't, you'll start to deplete yourself, and you've given so much out that you've malnourished your own soul. So yeah, this takes maturity, and this takes the right people around you to be honest with you and to be direct with you. You don't want to be sugarcoated. You've already been feeling sorry for yourself. This is how you got in this position in the first place. Now other people are expected to feel sorry for you. So if you are around people that will be very direct with you, then yeah, absolutely. It would be a very positive thing to help you overall. But if you've got family, speak to your friends and to your family. Be honest with yourself. Don't hide anything. Don't hold any secrets. Reach out to the people that you trust. And if you can't find the right people that you trust, then there's certain charities that you can speak with. Is it helpline?
Yeah.
I think it's helpline.
Yeah, that's
you know, and somebody will sit down and speak with you if you want to be heard. And fingers crossed that somebody is praying for you somewhere. I don't know how to advise. I don't know. I can't really advise anyone because I'm not qualified. I can only tell you my own experience, and suicidal thoughts are all part of that gig. It's all part of that. But then we think about suicide all the time. Doesn't mean we're actually going to do it. But when you are feeling isolated, especially when you're feeling isolated, that's the time where you need to really be honest with yourself and allow people to criticize you in order to provoke you to change things around. I don't think the medicines will help you. I think you need to be in a community or part of a community. I think you need to not neglect your health. Try to use that maturity to create situations and circumstances and events whereby you can be in that place where you can start laughing that will distract you from your environment. How many distractions will it take? It might take 5 different types of distractions during the course of the day, but that's where that maturity comes into play, and you create that, be it acting classes, soccer classes, going playing football on a Wednesday evening, going to your karate class, going to join up and link up with your band. But you need to be around people, and people that really care about you need to impose their will on you so that they will remind you that you're not alone.
Absolutely. That's a great advice that you've given, and truly, I truly hope our viewers are listening, and and that's great advice, Sol, that you've given. And when I give my experience at a later video when we talk about it, I've got a different the way how I went into mental depression, and it's quite similar to yours. From childhood to leading up to in my 20s and 30s, and so yeah, and it's I totally agree everything that you've said today in terms of advice, and I hope people do listen and go out there and just connect with people, just embrace life.
But KP, at the same time, I don't mean to cut you, my friend, but at the same time, maybe we don't need to see psychiatrists. maybe we don't need to see psychiatrists. Maybe we are little sippy bollocks and just being so soppy that we just become pussified. Nah, maybe you should write down some fucking goals. Man up. Write down some short to medium goals. Write your long-term goals. And stop crying like a bitch. Right? And fucking saying you need this and you need that and you feeling fucking suicidal. Why don't you make a decision to write down your fucking goals? Write down your goals, right? And make a plan, execute that plan. You achieve your goals. And then all of this will be a distant memory. You know why? Because you're having fun, living life the way that you want to live life.
And I think what we'll do, we'll touch on personal development. You know, me and Sol we've gone through a personal development, and we're still going through it and reading books and attending seminars, and we've gone into business together, and we've learnt to grow with that, right? So really, truly, like I say, you know, yes, that I totally agree. Doing writing your goals down and really short, medium, and long-term goals, and really working. Really think about who you are. What do you want to do? You know, don't worry about other people and what they perceive of you. You know, you have to first love yourself before you can help others, right? It's like, you know, when you're on a plane and you have to if there's an event that happens on the plane, you first have to apply the oxygen mask to yourself before your child, right? So really, you know, the reason why you have to
But to help yourself first.
but you have to help yourself first, because
to help yourself first. Stop trying to be a hero. Help yourself first. Then you can then become a hero. But I don't know why you want to become a hero, but you then become the hero and you save all the women and children. Hooray. But you got to help yourself first. Save yourself. We all know what it is, KP, right? It's a serious subject. But then we don't need to add awkward energies to a negative subject. The way we help people is by just telling them, we're not saying we're right, but this is what we're saying that we think could help. Why don't you just try it out? You know, if you like what you hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Simple. We don't need to like mental health, as we said at the very beginning of the show. We all suffer from it. We're all eating that double chocolate Belgian fucking cheesecake. Chocolate.
Yeah.
So don't look at me sideways, right? So it's a very serious subject, and obviously if you're under those circumstances and situations, go and seek help. But in a lot of cases, if the truth be known, is that you're a lazy ass, right? And you don't want to write down goals. You don't want to structure your life. You want to be a hero, and no one can't tell you shit. Well, guess what? You ain't going to be shit. You know why? Because you didn't write down no goals. It's very powerful when you do that. Anyway, I think we've said a lot today, haven't
we? Yeah, totally. And
a lot today. Yeah.
So I really want to just wrap it up today, and and really, I thank you for everyone for joining our webinar today, and we've had a great discussion. And really, we've kept it light. We haven't really deep. It's such an important topic, and there's so many people out there who are going through this particular type of event in their life. And from our experience, what I've gone through, I would love to share it to our viewers. And Sol has today.
Opinions. Tomorrow will be KP. Oh yeah, we're gonna dig into your soul, boy. Oh yeah, bye bye. We're gonna dig into your soul. Oh yes. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, I think it's time for me to really.
Get honest.
Yeah, I think it's time for
We
me
should all
to
get
really talk
honest.
about this topic because it's been a taboo for me, really.
Mm.
I haven't really talked about it, only like to my close friends like Soul and a couple of my cousins and so forth. I haven't really been true to myself
Yeah.
in some aspects of what I've been through, and so I would love to. I love Soul to interview me and for him to dig deep in me and to bring out what happened to me and how that could help our viewers. So again, thank you for coming on our show today, and having and yeah, and just keep on
Take it.
liking us,
Yeah.
comment us
Yeah.
on below.
Even if you don't like our ugly asses, man, show some love and just hate on us because we like that type of shit. No, bring it on, man. Bring it on. But yeah, thank you for your time, and yeah, we'll catch you tomorrow. Peace out.
Definitely. All right. Peace out. See you later. Bye.